character choice that could be, but it will be very, very interesting to say the least.
I love seeing some lesser known players on both teams. It's going to make the game a little bit less predictable, in my opinion. Maybe less target banning going on. Although I have noticed just now, no skill is on Team Guardians, the GOAT Groot player, so to speak, as well as on Team Captain. There's Zero, who's also a Groot player. Maybe we're not going to see as many target bans as we once thought. Um, Although both teams have just a monster roster, and I'm super stoked to see how they're going to face off against each other right now.
Indeed, I mean, both teams have great players on both sides. On one side, you've got a bunch of team members that have played in past tournaments, and on the other side, you've got some reputable players that are on teams such as our Valorant team and also our Super Smash Bros. Team, but we might not have seen a lot of their experience in Marvel Rivals. I mean, we definitely talked about No Skill has a lot of experience on that group player, but I think you mentioned it a little bit. I think target bans are definitely going to be a thing that teams have to consider here. I witnessed it in the Nexus Showdown #1. I witnessed it at No Man's Land. I think that's going to be something that everybody has to take into consideration. And right now, we talked about all the great players on both teams. Let's take a look at who is actually in our head-to-head. Let's see who are the head honchos, the head hunkas of both teams, team captains, if you will. And it looks like it's going to be good old Varsiel and the Holy Juan.
Yeah, the Holy Juan, definitely the one I'm going to be taking a look at. He will absolutely be the IGL of Team Captain America, leading the way for his squad. You know how good his DPS play is. We've seen him use the Punisher. We've seen him on Psylocke. He can do it all. He can give you that upfront defense. He can be that infiltrator and break up the back line of the enemy team. He is just so, so deadly when you let him cook and just leave him to his own devices.
Yeah, I got to say, no surprises here. Both fantastic players in their own right. I got to add on to your point about the Holy Juan. Again, as being a teammate of his, I saw his performance in the Nexus Showdown. I saw his performance in the No Man's Land tournament, and there are just no surprises here. He is one of the greatest players I have ever seen play Marvel Rivals.
No, and this will be a really good duel as well because you know that Varsiel is also going to be picking up that DPS player, so this is really going to be a matchup that might determine, some team fights here. If we're picking similar characters and similar styles of play, I mean, Holy Juan definitely having a smaller stat advantage in this case, but don't count Varsiel out as well. We know how crispy some of his Valorant plays can be, so he definitely has a chance to make some big plays too.
He does indeed, and we talk about his experience in Valorant. Definitely looking to see him pick up possibly a Hela or a Punisher player, one more of those more hit scan DPS, or you never know, he could move over to a strategist or Vanguard. Anything is possible at the Nexus Showdown too, and with anything possible, let's take a look at the predictions. I'm going to start with you, Evan. Who have we got going? Team Cap or Team Guardians?
You know what? It's tough. We got two really good stories on both sides, but I think I'm going to go with Team Guardians in this case. Going to change it up a little bit. I like sort of this underdog story that they got going on. They have some, some unknown vibes that just make them even that much more intriguing. We have Varsiel there. I trust, I always go for my guy Carl. So I think Team Guardians are going to take this one today.
I'm standing on a little bit of the fence right now. On one side, I know that the grass is green. I know we've got Hayes there. I know we got the Holy Juan there. And we got a great team to support them as well to take this victory. But on the other side, it's a little bit of a mist, a little bit of a fog. I don't actually know what exactly Team Guardians are going to be bringing into this. And, I'm a sucker for the underdog story. I'm going to go with Team Guardians. And that leaves it to you, Steven. Who are you going to be picking?
I hate to be that guy. I hate to be the outlier here, but I'm going to have to go with Team Cap. We've seen it time and time again, especially with Theo, the Holy Juan. He is one of the best DPS players in the game right now, and I think we're going to see a pretty clean domination just like we have in the past.
I'm going to have to move over here a little bit. We can take that side of the desk, Evan, as this Team Cap player resides over here. But
so sorry.
You know what? It's still interesting across the entire board because I have to agree with you. There are some very great players on the side of Team Cap that could definitely dominate it when they get online and when they start to play in this game. The question though, is I know that Hayes and I know that the Holy Juan are going to be ready for this. They'd love to get warmed up before, but is the rest of the team going to be there? Because if they're not warmed up, if they're not ready to play this game, Team Guardians could take it by a quick sweep, just with Team Cap relying on the Holy Juan and Hayes too much to try and carry them. But, gentlemen, I hear that we're going to be getting into game soon. I hear that we've got some picks and bans underway. I'm going to be leaving the desk. I'm going to leave it to you, beautiful gentlemen, to send us into the game. And ladies and gentlemen at home, I hope you enjoy the Nexus Showdown too. Let's send it over to the pick and bans.
Thank you very much, Wyatt. As we can see here, our map pool, our map bans are up and running. It looks like, according to this map ban set, it looks like it's going to be Royal Palace Domination. It's going to be a BO1 for this Nexus Showdown. We're just doing it a one and done, getting it right out. You know, Steven, we know that Domination, maybe not the most popular mode in Marvel Rivals. I think payload maps, especially for competitive tournaments, definitely take the cake in terms of, you know, play. But what do you think really stands out to you about maybe a Domination? And I mean, we look at the picks that have come through here. Anything that really jumps out at you at either of these two team combos here?
Well, immediately I want to go back to the maps real quick. I think Domination is a very aggressive style game mode, which is very fitting for both teams as they're all very aggressive players, especially their DPS players. And right off the bat, their team comps, not really any surprises here besides no skill on the Loki here. We know him for being a, you know, pretty fantastic group player, so it's nice to see a little bit of a change once in a while. We got Varshal on the Hela, no surprises there. The Kofax guy, you know. I am surprised to see Black Widow on the other team, Fatal on the Black Widow, Holy Juan on the Magneto. We know he is one of the best players in the group here, so it's no surprise here that maybe he wants to play a little bit more of a more impactful kind of character, more in the front line, more of an in-game leader to lead his team.
Well, we always, you know, think about these leaders being the IGL for the team, of Magneto absolutely fits the bill to be that team leader. Holy Juan sort of leading the charge on this upper area of Odin's Archive, trying to get something going. But look at this, the Guardians, or sorry, excuse me, that's Team Cap, is going to get there first. The members of Team Guardians also going to May there to get some things rolling here. Maylov getting the first kill. That's Thon Maker going down. Varcio adding another one on the Holy Juan. Great start for Team Captain America here. And look at this, getting into it. They do get the point first.
Immediately we're seeing the Psylocke. The lesser known players are already starting to stand out. The Psylocke with the 3 kills in a row there. It's looking pretty good for Team Cap. I gotta say my predictions look pretty solid right about now. Although the Holy Juan, his team is still kicking it. They're making some pretty good space for their team right now. We got the combo with Bucky and Rocket Raccoon, always a good one.
No, absolutely. You know, you sort of take a look at, you know, see what's happening here. I mean, the Guardians doing a very good job at holding Captain America off. No skill, adding another kill. I mean, the Captain America, they just can't get anything going here. The Guardians just defending so well. Spectre with that Captain America, excellent, you know, choice in terms of, you know, you talk about how aggressive and how violent you need to be on these points, and Captain America definitely fits the bill. You know, just that in-your-face type brawler tank here. 3 ults to work with as well for Team Guardians. They are absolutely set up for a point defense.
I'm curious to see which ults they're going to start using first. We're starting to build them up. We have 4 ults on the side of Team Guardians, 3 on the time of Team Cap. None used yet. I'm curious to see what we're going to be using. We see a Cloak and Dagger ult on the point to use oppressively. That's something you don't see every day. A Cloak and Dagger ult used for maybe a little bit of damage on the point just to take some space. We're working a lot of players to heal there. And we're also seeing a Psylocke ult as well.
Yeah, Malov popping that Psylocke ult, but not going to do much as Zero is going to return to the field after getting the help from that BRB. Varcio popping his ult as well, but he has a bunch of debris and a bunch of architecture in the way that's going to make things difficult for him to find any purchase here. 99% on the point. Team Guardians almost have this one locked up. Just have to hold the members of Team Captain America off the point here, but this is going to make it hard as BBC Supreme popping that Punisher ult, finding not 1, but 2 to finish it out and capture the Royal Palace for Team Guardians. Excellent work there.
What a play by that Punisher. That was certainly a spectacle of a round to watch. I would really like to see more ults on the side of Team Cap. I feel like there was a lot of missed opportunities there, but and I forgot, in Marvel Rivals, they do let you keep your ults in between rounds, which is pretty fantastic for Team Cap here. We're seeing a little bit of a reset in the team compositions here. It's looking about the same. Maybe they're going to try the same strategy on a different map.
Yeah, we're going to take a look at replay here and take a look at how Maylov opening up the picks, you know, just using that Psylocke to his advantage to really get things going for Team Guardians. And I mean, that really was sort of the catalyst for all that momentum that they gained at the start. So really, really good stuff from them. Definitely surprising some people. Sorry, Steven, you know, Team Captain America might be in trouble a little bit here. And speaking of, here is Spectre. Still sticking on that Captain America, just leading the charge for his team, not afraid to get in dirty in the back line here. Let's see if Captain America can make something happen here. That ult is going to make things a little easy for Team Guardians here. Excellent work to start with that Venom. Spectre looking for more in the back line, has to fall back though. He's going to be happy about one pick though. That's going to be another point. Oh, not just before. Hayes trying to jump in with his ult before getting taken out by No Skill. Absolutely massive. That Bucky ult could have completely turned the tables here. That's Holy Juan adding a 4 with his ult, trying to get a 5th one, but Spectre is going to get out of the way, but not before running into Thon Maker himself. Team Captain America retakes control of the point, but Steven had to use a lot of ults to get there.
Yeah, it was still a really close fight. We're not seeing many ults anymore on either side. I'm loving seeing the Holy Juan on Hele here, maybe matching Marshall because maybe he was dominating a little bit too hard last round. But the ults are fast, they're rebuilding really quickly. We're seeing some oppressive plays by Marshall. He got a little bit too greedy there, and he paid the price. And now we're just seeing some pandemonium happening on the point right now. Picks coming off from Team Cap. I think all they needed was a little bit of a map switch. They're starting to really kill it this map.
Yeah, Holy Juan has really woken up especially. He is making his presence known. That's 4 in a row for him with the quad feed, just absolutely going crazy, benefiting from that DPS buff from Mantis as well. And something else you want to highlight with Team Captain America, you know, using that Punisher and Rocket Raccoon combo. If we're talking about just pure DPS output, you know, absolutely just a good way of doing that though. BBC Supreme though is going to also try and get back with some Punisher play, and that is going to be another Psylocke ult from Malov coming out, comboed with Varsio's ult and BBC Supreme using that Punisher ult. It is just all happening right now on the point. Punisher finding 2, looking for that 3rd, is going to find it. The Guardians retake control of the point. BBC Supreme just going absolutely crazy with that quad feed on Punisher, popping in that turret like his 2016 Bastion. He really leading the charge for the team there. Excellent work from the Guardians to retake that point.
BBC Supreme honestly looking like the MVP. Holy Juan has some competition here. BBC Supreme has to be, I mean, his aim is just on point right now. We're seeing a hella ult as well on the side of Team Cap. Holy Juan knows what he's doing. He's trying to take some space off the point right now, playing very aggressively. We're seeing another oppressive Cloak and Dagger ult on the side of Team Cap. They are just trying so hard to get some value, and it's working. We see 3 picks on the side of Team Cap here. The players are really concentrated right now, and it's looking like a team white for Team Cap. And it's looking pretty good for them this map, although it is super even. There is what is that, 57% on the side of Team Guardians, and 75 and counting for Team Cap, and they're just taking so much space on the map, getting 3 picks, all that staggering going on, and it's looking like it might be a map win for Team Cap. It's pretty even.
Yeah, Team Cap pushed up really, really far here, trying to stall the Guardians as much as possible, but Spectre still on that Captain America, able to charge in there with reckless abandon, trying to get things started. That's a good way to get things going on that opening pick, but Zero going to return thanks to Miracle Mike's BRB. Not the best way to go about it if you're the Guardians. Hate to see that happen. Spectre still in the fight though, trying to hold it down and wait for reinforcements like the end of Avengers Endgame, and here they come. That's Malwa finding 2, but not enough. not enough as Team Captain America is able to hold the line and send this one to a map 3 in the throne room.
It could have been such an impactful ult from the Psylocke there on Team Guardians. It was a very, very close fight. We were seeing many picks very evenly on both sides.
Yes, absolutely. We did see that. You know, we're going to take a look at a replay of that last round to see how exactly we got to this third game here. And it really, like you said, it started at the very beginning here. The Guardians, you know, got onto the point early here. You know, had to use a lot of ults on the side of Team Cap to get them off here. But the Holy Juan, just like we said, taking control, finding... Down!
That fucking hurts!
And they use the ults very productively on map 2, on the beginning of map 2, and we're back here in map 3, the tiebreaker.
Yes, we are here. It's all up to this. This is for all the marbles. Gonna see aggressive takes here. We do have some ults already on the table, and they are wasting no time. BBC Supreme right back to where he left off with that Punisher ult, but Team Captain America playing a lot smarter this time, trying to use that cover, and he's not going to find anything. Holy Juan dispatching him quickly. Guardians, though, do get on that point quickly, even though they did have to expend a couple ults here, but a couple ults in the clock for Team Cap, they can definitely make a move soon.
That is the first time I've seen Team Cap be able to kite the Judge, Jury, Punisher on the side of Team Guardians. BBC Supreme switching to the Iron Man. He just wanted to get that ult out, I guess, which is why it was so much less powerful. We're seeing Holy Juan with 4 kills with the Hella ult. Just a massive team wipe. I'm not seeing any surprises here. Holy Juan carrying his team to victory.
Yeah, and Fatal as well on that Punisher. We saw him sort of cleaning up some of those kills that Holy Juan wasn't able to finish, and Fatal can be something very, very interesting to watch. You know, so good against Iron Man and other, you know, flying characters. So Fatal and Holy Juan really doing their best to hold it down. BBC Supreme, an interesting idea to switch to Iron Man. I can understand, you know, trying to counter Hela again, but that's going to be Loki. It's going to be No-Skill trying to steal a Luna Snow ult to keep his team alive. Hayes swapping to that Namor, still a bunch of action going on the point. Team Cap currently in possession of the point. Team Guardians have to respond.
Hayes' choice to swap to Namor was not a bad choice at all. I was questioning it a little bit at first with BBC Supreme switch to Iron Man, as he's, you know, a little bit harder to hit as he's in the air. He's got a little bit more mobility, and Namor is a projectile character after all, but the Holy Juan seems to be locking it down, and Namor is just getting all of the space on the map right now. We are just seeing a cacophony of ults happening all on the point at the same time.
Yes, cacophony is a great word for it, but that Luna Snow ult, we talked about how good supports are in this current meta. Luna Snow able to keep the Captain America side in the game right now, and Fatal and Holy Juan again laying down that DPS here. Spectre not able to do much. It's all against him. Hayes also picking it up with that Namor. Almost done and dusted for Team Captain America. 84% for them. The Guardians, if they have anything left in the tank, now is the time. 3 ults in the back pocket. You're going to have to use them now, especially with the Holy Juan also having his ult on deck. And there is Barsos, but the maximum pulse, looking for something but not going to find anything. Going to whiff an absolute brick from BBC Supreme on that ult, going to be punished by the Holy Juan in turn. Holy Juan just going absolutely mental, finding more points, and that is going to do it for Team Captain America. They are going to be the winner of the Nexus Showdown 2 off of the back of some incredible play from the Holy Juan.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was an absolute stellar game from both of those teams. You know, I thought that Guardians, they had it in them. They took the first game off, and then it looked like very promising in the second game. But Team Cap were just able to lock in and lock it down. And it was that man right there, the Holy Juan, who was the one to lead it at the helm.
Well, guys, what did I say? Team Cap was my prediction since the beginning, and Although there was a little bit, Team Guardians put up more of a fight than expected, but Team Cap did end up taking the gold.
Indeed.
You know, definitely made it interesting though. I think the Guardians really was all completely
Double kill! That's three!
that's where
An opportunity for combat! Wow, four in a row!
that was really the key to his success, especially with a precision DPS like Hella. You know, I mean, using the ult to his advantage and just using his vision to really see as much as possible and being that IGL, that leader for Captain America. He really was the reason that they were able to pull it out today. Excellent, excellent boy.
Indeed, and I saw it in the first game. I thought it was gonna be over. Like I didn't think Cap were gonna be able to come back because I saw Varsil, I saw Malav, and I even saw No Skill as well, all connecting up together to just get pick after pick after pick. And it seemed like at that moment that Team Cap were very distant. Like they weren't connecting at all. They weren't working as much together as a team. They tried to pull that back a little bit nearing the end, but their teamwork didn't really get to show out until the second game when obviously we saw the Holy Juan actually come online and start to frag out. And then in that last game as well was just absolutely smashing. And then the one thing that I will say though, watching a little bit of the game, they were playing a 3-healer comp, which helped them in taking game 2. Then Hayes had switched over to a Namor. And immediately in my mind, I was like, this is it. You guys are going 3 DPS. There's only 2 healers. You guys are going to get out damaged, and you guys aren't going to have enough healing to actually support you in trying to take this point. But what do you know? I think Hayes actually showed up, and there was one moment where he got an absolutely astonishing double kill with his ultimate. I believe it was on to Varsil and one of the other members of his team. I believe it was either Boehner or No Skill as well, getting them out of the game for a little longer. And then overall, he also played stellar in this game.
I gotta say, I feel like we saw a drastic change in the game once Hayes switched to that Namor. And I gotta say, I really thought the Holy Hon was going to be a clean sweep being the MVP, but Hayes did kind of crush it that game, I gotta say. Once they switched to the off of the triple healers, into the 3 DPS, I kind of share the same sentiment. I really thought they just weren't going to have quite enough sustain to be able to bring home the gold. And but they played so oppressively on a game mode like domination, where both teams have to meet in the middle. They were playing quicker and more oppressive and taking so much more space on the map, and there's nothing that Team Guardians could do about it.
I think something else too, you know, you talk about Hayes and how impactful his play was, especially in that last one. You know, you talk about round 2, it's the very start. He's coming in hot with that armed and dangerous, but gets taken out immediately by No Skill before he can get any damage really set in. That was a massive, massive moment, especially for Team Captain America, you know, eliminating that ult off the table immediately and able to, you know, sort of get on the point as quickly as possible. You know, that really was, I think, a turning point moment, and that sort of was the beginning of the Team Captain America resurgence, and that comboed with Holy Juan, starting to lock in and, you know, really kind of take it seriously. That really was the difference maker and the reason why Captain America was able to be victorious this day.
And I think that moment when Hayes was trying to find a lot of value with that Winter Soldier ultimate, but sadly didn't get anything because he was taken out by No Skill, he started to realize, like, okay, to take this point, we're going to need 3 healers. We're going to need a lot more output, because I believe at the moment what they were running was they were running a Cloak and Dagger, they were also running a Rocket Raccoon, and then Hayes had just picked up the Mantis as well to help them out, which was really good to help them because we know Rocket Raccoon, he's got a good amount of healing, but not nearly as much as an Invisible Woman or a Cloak and Dagger. And then to add Mantis on top of it, kind of a 50-50, great at healing, great at damage boosting, and then also great at taking out people herself, was a great way to quickly adapt to the situation, saying like, oh, this isn't going to work on Bucky on Winter Soldier, let's switch it up, let's go to a strategist, and let me just boost the rest of my team to see if they can make the changes that I could not.
I love seeing such skill-expressive heroes on both sides. You guys know me. I love my Bucky. I love my Hela. And I also love seeing heroes like Cloak and Dagger that are also just so oppressive, you would think them as healers, but in reality, they're really such a good all-rounder for the team.
Indeed, and I believe we're going to be passing it off to a graphic. Let's see what we've got up on the board right now. Taking a look at it. So we got the MVP. I mean, what else is there to say?
I mean, it really wasn't a question here. The Holy Juan, really sort of putting Team Captain America on his back, and I mean, we could see why they left it up to him. 37 and 5, over 15,000 damage in 3 sets of domination. An absolutely insane stat line. The Guardians they didn't really have an answer for him. You try and switch to that Iron Man, just a little too late. Even that in itself is a very risky play, especially with how Holy Juan was just seemingly, able to hit anything and everything that was moving, but it was too little too late, especially for dealing with him. The Guardians sort of surprised him on the first map. They took Team Captain America by surprise a little bit, but Holy Juan, once he just took over and locked in, there was no stopping him.
I gotta say, really no surprises here. I said it from the beginning, the Holy Juan himself, 37 and 5, 0 assists as well. He is a lone wolf. He does not need teammates to show himself off and prove that he is the greatest of all time.
Indeed, he is definitely great, and this is a great tribute to his history as well. I mean, he lost in the first Nexus Showdown actually to Hayes' team, who was now on his team, and then he was able to win out the No Man's Land tournament, and now second win to him, now 2-1. A great way to continue his legacy here in the Marvel Rivals tournament scene, and overall, it was a great performance from everybody. I think definitely Hayes we also highlighted. I think someone on the other team that I wanted to highlight though was a little bit of a Spectre, Ryan. He was on that cap for a majority of that game, and I believe after the first round he was dropping 12 and 0, which I asked him. I was like, "Hey, do you play this game? Do you play Captain America a lot?" He said no. He said this is the first time that he's ever played.
You know what? I respect the choice. We were talking in the pre-show before we went live, how I've sort of just started to pick Captain America up. I know he's a very fun player, but I think in this case it was a bit of a detriment to their team comp. I mean, Captain America is a very, very hard tank to run.
Fucking hurt!
That's 3! Wow, 4 in a row! I fell down on their head.
Hey, they're down!
Are always looking in front of him, always trying to keep an eye on these entrances and these exits on the map to really get the most out of his DPS play here. Again, another huge start from Malov to get things going here. And look at this, you have members of the Guardians that are sort of retreating in the background or trying to find cover, but it just does not matter because Fatal coming in here with the Punisher ult just absolutely devastating. He's darting around, he's looking, and then he finds the Cloak and Dagger just at the very end to switch it over here. And again, we talked about the Holy Juan just using his vision and just look at this quick turn here, finds one, and is immediately into the next one here, hitting that home run and finding the maximum pulse here. Like we said, absolute brick of a pulse bomb that just didn't find any sort of purchase. Martial as well, trying to put in some work with the Feast of Crows, but just not finding anything. And again, look at all Theo's looking at these bunched up members of Team Guardians here, and he's looking at that and he's saying, looks like some barbecue chicken at the buffet right there. I'm just going to take everything and everyone for myself, and that is exactly what happened. I mean, the MVP for good reason, guys. I mean, we saw it here. Just he has the vision. He has that dog in him. He's got that skill. He just does it all for Team Captain America.
We're highlighting all of the great players. We're highlighting Hayes. We're highlighting the Holy Juan. We're highlighting No Skill. Another player I really wanted to give the light a little bit was BBC Supreme. I just wanted to say, I don't play a lot of Punisher. However, he had some of the most impactful ults I have ever seen in the game of Marvel Rivals.
Indeed, and we could talk about all different players that were great on both teams, but I think we just gotta talk about the one, and I think we're gonna get him on the mic right now. We've got an interview with him, the Holy Juan himself. Let's see this beautiful guy. There he is in a star-striking white hoodie. The Holy Juan, how are you feeling after that game?
Feeling good. That was a fun little three rounds of domination. I hope we put on a pretty good show for you guys.
Indeed, it was very very good show. And gentlemen, do you have any other questions for the Holy One?
Theo, I mean, you talked about that performance here. 37 kills, absolutely, breathtaking to watch. Just kind of talk us through it. I mean, map one, like round one, you guys came out a little slow. Guardians sort of took one. What was the message to your team after that first round? How did you wake everybody up?
Well, I'm just gonna say how it is. I started off on tank. I have a total of maybe like 30 minutes of tank in my lifetime on this game, and it wasn't working out. Their DPS was on the high ground. Their low key was causing troubles. So, first round we kind of just accepted our fate. We lost, and then I switched over to Hela, started contesting their DPS a little bit in the coming rounds, and it worked out for us.
Theo, what do you have to say to your friends and fans after putting on such a dominant performance?
Yes, all my friends and fans that were watching, I did this one for you. I wanted to make it a 3-round series because I wanted, to have the most enjoyable watch possible, extend the game a little bit, but we weren't really throwing. We were just like, trying out something new. Didn't work out. We went back to basics, but I just hope it was a good showing, and I hope it was fun to watch.
Absolutely, it was fun to watch, Theo. I do have one more question for you. We had some people on your team, maybe who aren't, as well versed in Marvel Rivals as you are. So are you hoping that, this game, this performance today has maybe inspired them to maybe pick up and pursue a career in Marvel Rivals from here on out?
I mean, it's a fun game. It's still a pretty new game, so a lot of new players, a lot of time to learn. And yeah, I mean, if they had fun playing here, I'm sure they'll play it again. They'll pick up the game, and I don't see why not. I mean, it seems like a fun game as of right now, and I would encourage a lot of people to play it.
All right, well, thank you so much for the interview, Holy Juan. We'll send you out now. Go explore your riches with your gazillion dollars. Have a great time on vacation, going wherever you may be, and we will see you in the next one.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, guys, for casting.
Always a pleasure to cast on the desk, especially with you two gentlemen. It was an absolute banger of a series. And anything else I believe that you guys want to talk about before we cut it off? I think we've actually got a quick graphic to talk through. Sorry to cut you guys off. Didn't get you guys to talk right now, but let's look at a head-to-head in that match. Team stats all around. Who was the key players in this? And looking at this right now, I mean, we can definitely talk about the Holy Juan at 37-5, but then I think the next one up, we already mentioned, has to be Hayes, 27-7.
Yeah, Hayes, again, you got that combo of the Holy Juan and Hayes there just doing absolutely, absolute numbers. Fatal as well. We're really talking about him a whole lot, sort of the unsung hero for Team Cap, 20-6, splitting between Punisher and Black Widow as well. Definitely a bit of a surprise there. Thon Maker, just kind of picking up that slack where he needs to. Only 3-10 with the Venom, not making a big impact on the field. But Mike as well, Miracle, GOAT League support player. Those 22 assists with Rocket, absolutely huge to keep Team Captain America in the game.
Although we're highlighting Team Cap, and although I did vote for them, they were definitely my prediction, and they ended up taking home the gold. Team Guardians was nothing to scoff at either. Ryan on the Captain America, 23-7. You don't see that every day. Captain America, although he is a very oppressive hero, you don't really see him doing all that much damage. He's more of kind of just a bullet sponge that never dies,
Indeed, and we can see on the side of Guardians, Varseal trying to live up to the expectations that Holy Juan was throwing down on the point. But you know what? It was as he said, the second he switched off to that DPS, the Holy Juan was just able to contest the opposing DPS, and it just all laid out from there. It worked for them, switching off from that Vanguard onto that Hela, and obviously another one that I want to highlight on the side of Team Cap, as I think it was one of you guys that mentioned, was Mike Miracle. Was a great Rocket player, and definitely a player that I think doesn't get a lot of spotlight. I mean, we definitely see the more flashier, more impactful DPS or healers like Invisible Woman and Cloak and Dagger shine a lot in these games, but Rocket Raccoon still great in his own respect because he does have a good amount of healing output, and also his revive is definitely one of the things that I attribute to him as very unique and very game-changing in Marvel Rivals as a whole.
No, absolutely. Rocket, so good. Support players I think are always sort of underappreciated in most cases. We always talk about how the MVPs are usually, the DPS or the tank players, which I mean, in their own right, they absolutely are making the big plays happen. But, always got to shout out the support players for making sure that those big plays are still able to happen.
Indeed. And ladies and gentlemen, I think we're going to cut it out for today. I think that's all we have for you. But gentlemen, before we send it out, before we close it out, Stephen, do you have anything else to say before we end it off here?
Well, immediately, I'd like to thank you guys, my fellow casters, and I'd like to thank everybody at home for watching. And I'm so glad I got to cast such an energetic spectacle of a performance from both Team Guardians and Team Captain America. And I hope to see them face off against each other in the future.
And Evan, I know you've always got some wise words to spit. What are you going to tell us today?
Always have some wise words to part. But in this case, I'm going to save those wise words to just thank everybody in the back room and on production team for making this stream happen. We are so indebted to you and everything you guys do to set this up. So excellent work, everybody. Thank you for setting this all up and making this all happen. You guys are the real MVPs.
Indeed. I mean, it's been said twice. Might as well say it a third time. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us here for the Nexus Showdown 2. Thank you to the production staff. Thank you to the players who participated in this grand finals. And we will see you guys in the next one for a possible Nexus Showdown 3. But we'll wait until then, and you guys have a fabulous Tuesday afternoon.